Peter is turning the recording on, and this works like a well-oiled machine. Happy Wednesday, everyone. I'm Reverend Sunshine Michelle Coleman, and I am the proud spiritual director and senior minister of the Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, and I will be your host tonight. Yay for that. So this is our midweek oasis, is what we call this Wednesday night service. And you get to experience tonight a place where we can come together as community to be spiritually refreshed between Sundays, and we can delve down into the topic that was discussed last Sunday. And most of our Wednesday night services build on that theme from the previous Sunday so that we can steep in it. And we share together in a satsang style, satsang is the way you say it, style that we call it, that builds off science of mind principles and practices with the intention that these gatherings be informal and intimate and interactive. So we will open the floor a little later with our speaker, and hopefully you'll jump in. So last Sunday, I was in Santa Cruz, and Reverend Elijah Christopher from Santa Cruz was at Oakland Center. We did a pulpit exchange, a swap, if you will. And he introduced talks from our monthly global theme. Our annual theme is Living Out Loud. Our monthly theme is Light Within the Shadows. And last week's talk title was Lights, Camera, Action, which is what our guest speaker tonight, practitioner, our outreach practitioner, which means that he travels a whole bunch, Dylan McClintock, will continue to explore this same topic. So you're in for a treat, and I hope you would enjoy it. And we welcome you. We welcome you to this place of being. And, you know, I'm told by the folks that usually run this service that when I first came on board, I don't remember it, but I'm glad they do, that I shared 6 C's for us to consider, and they wanted to include them in this service. So here they are, 6 C's, right? The first one is compassion. Come with a heart of love and tenderness. The next one is communication. Come ready to exchange openly. Then we have camaraderie. Come in harmony and ready to share. Then there's collaboration, where we can come together in partnership and cooperation. And last but certainly not least, it's all about our consciousness. Come with spiritual awareness and truth. So we welcome those 6 C's into our programming this evening and always, as we welcome you. We welcome any new folks that are here for the first time, and we direct your attention to our website at oaklandcsl.org, oaklandcsl.org, and then there's a button there that says I'm new. And if you click on that, in the lower left-hand corner of that page, you can submit your email address and you'll be added to our distribution list for our weekly newsletter that we call the Village News. Comes out on Thursday, and it's chock full of information that will support you in integrating into our community. A couple of housekeeping notes before I turn it over to Dylan. Be sure and mute your audio, and your video cameras, you can leave on if you like, but we definitely like for you to be on mute so that we can have clear sound for everyone and the recording. Our Zoom team, which is the mighty Peter Gum and Alice Herndon, if by chance you're unmuted, we may mute you so that we can make sure that we have good sound quality. So stay tuned through the end of the service, and we have a few important announcements to share with you. So with that and no further ado, I want to introduce to you, as I mentioned, he's one of 2. We have 2 outreach practitioners, and Dylan McClintock is one of them. He has been a part of the OCSL Oakland Center for Spiritual Living community since 2000. That's a long time, huh? And then he's been a practitioner since 2005. And he's done a lot of roles. He's been on the board. He's taught a lot of classes. He emphasized a lot. So a lot of classes. He's been on the education corps. He's been in practitioner leadership. And I'm told he was there to help us integrate with a database called Fellowship One that some of you may remember. So thank you for that, Dylan. He's traveled the world and continues to do that. He's been to the ashrams in India. He studied Buddhism in Bhutan, and he travels a whole lot, and maybe he will tell you where he's going next. So I'm going to invite Dylan to open us in prayer, and then he's going to take it away. So I'm handing it off to you, Dylan.
Thank you. Thank you. And behind me, you will see an image of one of the ashrams in India that I visited. This one is in the southeast near Chennai, and it's changed now. I won't go into details, but they've run classes and programs that have been remarkably powerful for me and others. Anyway, that's what that beautiful building is in the background. There you can see it better. So now if you'll just join with me and close your eyes if you like. Take a deep breath and exhale, and know that the breath that we are breathing is the breath of God, the God that is everywhere present, omnipotent, and the creator of all that is. There is no place where God is not. God is all of it. All of it comes from God. God is the circle that has no circumference. God is the container for everything from the tiniest grain of sand to a supernova in the galaxies. It is all God, all created out of God's essence, all created out of the creative, very creative, all created out of the vision of joy and love and peace and harmony in the world and beyond. I know that I have been created in the image and likeness of Spirit. I know that I am imbued with all of the qualities and attributes of God. And I know this is true for each beloved who is hearing the sound of my voice right now, whether live or on recording. Each of us is the embodiment of Spirit in form. I bless this time that we have together. I know that the questions and answers will be rich and meaningful. I know that whatever needs to be asked will be asked. I know that the speaker will deliver with the assistance of Spirit flowing through. I thank the team who's putting this on. I appreciate every one of them. And let's just take another deep breath. And allow Spirit to flow through this gathering. Allow Spirit to bring forth everything that needs to be brought forth in this time together. I claim it is good and very good. And I am so grateful to be here. And please join me in saying, and so it is. And take another deep breath. As Reverend Sunshine Michelle said, the theme for this month is light within the shadows, and for this week is lights, camera, action. Reverend Elisha Christopher spoke very eloquently on this topic on Sunday, and if you weren't able to be present, I encourage you to watch the YouTube video. In fact, even if you were present, I encourage you to watch the YouTube video. I was present and I watched the YouTube video again in preparation for tonight. And I got, it was great the second and third time around. So I encourage you to watch if you have any inclination that way. One idea that he presented in particular that I liked or appreciated is that it feels right now like we're in a very, very deep, dark time as humans on the planet. All these things that are emerging that are uncomfortable and things that we didn't know existed, or things that were sort of hidden from us, maybe we didn't want to see, they're all emerging, they're all becoming visible. And he suggested that rather than us being in the dark still, that we must be getting into the light, because otherwise we wouldn't be able to see these things. So we can see them, which means that we actually have the opportunity to feel the discomfort that we might feel and to do the work that we need to do. He suggested that we just get comfortable feeling uncomfortable as we move through this time, which I thought was actually pretty helpful. So we talk about the dark and we talk about the light, and they're two halves of a whole. They're the yin and yang. They don't exist independent of each other. But we, in this philosophy and in our culture, we think of the dark as being bad. It's scary, it's dangerous, all those things. And we're encouraged, particularly in the philosophy, to look at the good. We want to find the good in everything. We want to focus on the good. We don't want to focus or give attention to what we don't want. And in my mind, the dark isn't a scary place. It's a place of creation. It's a place of birthing something new. But we have to be present to that. We have to be willing to be in that place and be uncomfortable. The saying necessity is the mother of invention, I think, is appropriate. It's because it's often when we're in trouble, in the depths of what we don't want, desperate for a solution to our problems, whatever they might be, that the creative force within us is aligned with the creative force, the creative power of spirit, and it rises up with an answer that's often beyond our wildest imaginings. Someone will show up out of the blue. A word or image will provide some inspiration. And often the solution, the answer, seems to come out of nowhere. And we all know where nowhere is, right? So the dark is an incubator. But if we aren't willing to take the next step, if we aren't willing to risk exposure, be vulnerable with our creation, our life, so that we can grow into our next best life, it's a stillbirth. So this is the action step. This is the facing of a different kind of fear, not the fear of being afraid in the dark, but the fear of being exposed. So will we, will we be fully present and authentic in the world, knowing that it might require us to face something within us that's uncomfortable or difficult? It's sometimes easy to get caught in the quicksand that is the fear of not knowing what's next or what the right answer is. And in that confusion, we can lose our bearings. We don't see the familiar landmarks. We're lost. But as students of this philosophy, we have tools, don't we? We have tools to help us find the light in the darkness, to help us to stay present in the moment rather than getting caught up in the what ifs. Our minds can lead us into fear if they aren't grounded in focus by meditation and other practices. Personally, when I find myself plummeting down some rabbit hole of fear, I use a Sanskrit chant that I learned at this ashram to pull my mind back to the present, which is, after all, the only place where solutions are found. The present must be in the present. I think about people who've been in very dark circumstances for long periods of time and somehow managed to rise above them. I'm going to South Africa this summer, and so Nelson Mandela is an example that comes to mind. He was in prison for many, many years, but he stayed true to his principles, his values, his beliefs, and his spiritual center, rather than succumb to the grim situation in which he lived, and saw, I think for the most part, saw no end to. So spiritual practice keeps us grounded in truth, helps us keep the light at the end of the tunnel in sight. Even if we only see a tiny little speck of it, we can still see it. And I think that this is truly the ultimate challenge, to maintain our center in the face of challenge. Like an athlete in the field, on the playing field, it's how we respond to being down in points or whatever that demonstrates our character. And just as an athlete has to practice to make it look easy on the field, so too must we do our practice so that we are physically, mentally, and emotionally flexible and strong, so that we can bend rather than break in challenging times. Let's just take a minute to be with that. So one of the things that I got to experience, I've lived in Oakland for 25 years or thereabouts, and have had lots of opportunities here at the center and elsewhere to do deep work on racism and class issues. I worked and socialized in mixed race communities, and I was certain I was not racist, or not racist anymore. I can't vouch for what I grew up with. But some years ago, I moved into a working class brown and black neighborhood in Oakland, and witnessed activities and behaviors that were uncomfortable to me, some of which were class related and some were race related. But it was the thoughts, the beliefs, and the feelings that shocked and horrified me over and over again as they came to the surface, that had been completely invisible, like bottom feeders in a lake. It was like somebody else was talking. Who is this? Who's in my head? This is not me. This is not who I am. This is not what I believe. This is not how this is not how I believe. So I knew that the beliefs weren't just mine, but part of the collective, the cultural mind to which we're all exposed in obvious ways and in subtle ways, through the media, through books, and everything, history. So even though I knew that those ideas weren't really mine, they were still inside me. And so I knew that I had work to do, because I did not want it in my consciousness any longer. So one of the ways that the universe helps us, sometimes in ways that it doesn't look like help, but I had planned on, I was in grad school at the time, and I'd planned on moving after grad school, but then the housing crash in 2007 kept me there. And I quickly realized that it was a gift. because I was in that neighborhood to do this work, not just for me, but for my part in the collective. And I would be there until I was done. So I did it. That's what I did for 5 years. I allowed all those feelings to come up. I allowed them to be visible. I allowed them to be in my awareness, so that I could really look at them and really see what was mine. What really, some of it, I mean, there were echoes of me in there somewhere. So I did that work, and it was hard, and I had a lot of help. So we must all do that work, whatever that work is for us. We must do it if we truly want this world to be a world that works for everyone. We must be willing to do our own deep, difficult work. And that means facing the uncomfortable and facing what we might not want to see in ourselves. It just is. And we know that there is a shift happening in the world. There's a sort of a polarization that we're witnessing in all sorts of different areas of life, corporate, political, personal. It's happening all over. Like this one, that wants a world that works for everyone. I'm aligned with some other organizations with the similar philosophies. But there are also forces that desperately want to maintain the status quo because it works for them. And I'm pretty sure you probably know who I'm talking about. But so each side is growing stronger, and the message is getting polarized more and more and more, and the center is a ghost town, or becoming a ghost town. You just have to look at Washington to see what that looks like. So I realized that I can be ashamed of my cultural heritage, of the fact that I'm white, the fact that I have privilege and power and whatever because I'm white, or I can use that privilege and power to benefit other people, to benefit the greater good. For a long time, I think that there was white people were, well, I'm not going to, don't need to go there. There's a lot of work to be done, and there's no time to waste. The turning point is coming. We must do whatever we can to benefit the greater good in whatever we do. One of my areas of study throughout my life, really, and interest, is the European history, particularly German history in the early 20th century. In Nazi Germany, as Hitler rose to power, millions of ordinary Germans sat by with their eyes down, unwilling to see what was happening in their names. And yes, they were fearful of the thugs that Hitler had roaming the streets, but still, most did nothing. And many lived with guilt for the rest of their lives once they were made aware of what was really going on. I'm not going to sit around with my eyes covered. I am supporting the creation of new structures and systems that are free of racism, classism, domination, oppression. And the simple question that we each must ask ourselves is, how am I going to show up? What is my work to do? What is my work to do? How can I prepare myself for what lies ahead, like an athlete training for a race. The work may not be today or tomorrow, it may be next year, but I need to prepare so that when next year comes, I'm ready, I'm fit, I'm trained, I'm ready to go. Who are my allies? How can I connect with other people so that there's more power in numbers? One is not as powerful as 100 or 1,000 or 1,000,000. So it's, who are my allies? How can I connect with other people to move this forward? What are my unique gifts and talents? Each one of us is a unique creation of God, right? So each one of us has a unique gift to bring, or you wouldn't be here. We're here because we have that gift to bring to the world. So we need to understand what that is and offer it, right? Lights, camera, action. Time to take action. So one of the actions I'm taking, as Reverend Sunshine Michelle mentioned, is that I travel quite a bit. And one of the actions is that I'm meeting people face to face around the world, breaking down my preconceptions and theirs, and breaking down barriers between us. The internet has made it easy to connect, but there is something completely different when I can visit someone in their home, or walk the street where they live, or spend time in their villages, watch them tend their crops and livestock, be a part of their life for a little while, out of my life and into theirs. And there's an exchange of my life into theirs as well. And I'm returning to Africa this summer, to Southern Africa, and I'm really excited about meeting new people and having new experiences with them. South Africa in particular is going to be a fascinating place because of the political, historical, the historical political work that's been done there, and where they are today. They've achieved something truly miraculous, and I'm excited to experience it. So that's it. That's the question on the deck is, what is your gift to give? How are you preparing? What is it that in your life right now that is particularly uncomfortable for you? Anybody? We can open it up to the floor now. If anybody wants to jump in.
Thank you so much, Dylan, for those reflections. I put the questions, and I'm a chatter in the chat room. Reverend Sally and I both are. And so, when I hear something that's really poignant, I put it in the chat. So I've chatted it up a bit. But the questions are, what is your gift to give? How are you preparing? And what in your, I put lift, what in your life is particularly uncomfortable for you?
Yeah, those are a few. There are always other questions that can be raised. Anybody have anything on those questions?
Any takers? Don't be shy. You can either, Constance, are you about to say something?
Yeah. It's interesting that as I want to speak, my throat is getting coffee, but not COFFEE, but COUGH. There, I've sort of been thinking about this for a long time about what's mine to do, because I've worked in through most of my life. I worked in I was an activist and worked with mostly women, but many different communities. But I haven't found it here. It's interesting. And when I have, and I think it's partially because of my position at the center, that when I have spoken up about things, I've been chastised about it. I've been told that I was a gossip and other kinds of things when I thought there were real injustices happening. So it's sometimes really hard for me to know where to go and how to do this. So and so I've been sitting with the question for quite a while, and I still don't have the answer. So that's what I have to say about this at the moment.
Well, I applaud your lifelong activism.
Thank you, Constance, for sharing that. Anyone else?
Judith, go ahead.
Okay. Hi, Dylan.
Hi,
Thank you
Judith.
so much. I kind of backed off from life because of COVID, and it's really not satisfying. And I know that I need to find a way to move up again. I had a health issue which really threw me for a loop a little bit, but I'm heading past it now, and I'm who knows how long I'm going to have? Who knows how long anybody has on the planet? And so I set my intention to stop waiting for things to be better. I don't think they'll be perfect, but I need to just stop even waiting for them to be better in the outside world, and find something, it could be a small thing. Just find a way to step up and into something new. So that is my heart's desire right now. And I think I am ready to stop sitting in the back seat, to stop just sort of reading the news. What's the point of it? I can just, I have one life, and this is it. And so I'm getting ready. I think that was in Dr. Dan the other day, something about getting ready. And so that's what I feel that I'm doing now. And I was really happy to hear from you the questions and the picture that you painted. So thank you. I'm done.
Thank you. Thank you. It's wonderful to see you.
Same here. Yeah.
Thanks, Dr. Judith. Anyone else want to chime in here? I will just say that for me, one of the things that I happened to mention in my talk on Sunday in Santa Cruz, for whatever reason, I was, thinking about that center stage and lights, camera, action, my mind came to my early 20s when I was modeling. And I took some training in Southern California and was down there and went to New York and, wanted to be a top model or what have you. And I had a hard time with it because it's such a cutthroat industry. I don't even know if they use that language anymore, but I sensed that I probably would have to sacrifice myself in ways that I didn't want to. And so I just left that dream. I didn't fight for it because I just knew that I did not want to be what I was seeing. And that's not a bad thing necessarily, although over time in these years, as I've learned and grown and, gained wisdom or whatever, I could do it now, because I've learned how to be me and do me without sacrificing myself. And I think that's a quandary for some people, that either whether it's a dream or for the world that we see that you mentioned, Dylan, that is out there. Sometimes I feel like we don't know where to put ourselves in that. It's like we're not here and we're not there. So where are we? And then we allow ourselves to feel lost because we're in neither place.
And powerless.
Right. And so I think it's, for me, what I've learned is putting a stake in the ground for who I am and for who I want to be, who I want to show up as, and learn not to care what other people think about it. And if we can do that for ourselves, then I think we'll get there. But it's a quandary that I think we have to own, like Dr. Judith just said. It's like, I'm what I heard you say is I've been hesitant, but now I'm ready to like go. Yeah. And you gained wisdom too. I mean, when we live long enough and then we get to reflect back, then we can see what we didn't do that we wanted to do, or be who we want to be, and then we can act on it. It's never too late. So thank you for that. I see Deborah has her hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you, Reverend Sunshine. That was really great. That's a great way to put it, is the stake in the ground.
Good evening. This is Deborah. And
hello, Deborah.
How you doing, Dylan? I am looking at this question as what is particularly uncomfortable for me, and that is sitting in a room and knowing that the elephant is in the room and nobody wants to talk about it.
Good one.
And what is so interesting is that I belong to this center, and I think that comes up here. I also think it comes up in my work. I also think it comes up that people give a good conversation to, they want the change. And some of them are in a deep quandary about how do they change, but they don't want to sit still or even do the work or be in the room long enough to see the light go on. I work with I work with people who I am looking at that looks like me, but I also look at most women are willing to enter into the conversation. And I applaud you because most of our men don't. It is highly uncomfortable to sit at a table and I'm looking at the people who make the decisions, which are white men, and don't want to have the conversation. Yeah. So what is making me uncomfortable, and I really got to just name it, is most of the decision makers who are white men don't want to enter into the hard spaces and places that can create the change that we all want to see to make a difference in the world. And we will skate, and what is uncomfortable for me is we're not ready yet. And it's almost like we have to wait for it to consistently burn down before we begin to say, well, let's do something different. Even when we want to bring it up, and even though it has been introduced, and even though it has been put forward. I sit in several diversity groups. And I also sit at tables with several decision makers who say that they won't change, and yet they are the block themselves within the change. And so this is something that you said in terms of what is particularly uncomfortable for me. Even when we bring it into the room, talk about it, it is very difficult and uncomfortable for me to sit as long as I have been sitting in the room and we skirt around the issue. And I'm not talking about everybody. I am talking about particular things that I am observing in the rooms of which I am sitting in. And the question is, we want to make a difference. And I am not sure that they understand. Well, no, that's not true. It is difficult for me to watch the question be put into the room and the information is overlooked. Yeah. So when you asked, it was like, do I want to talk this? Do I want to say this? Do I want to put this in the room? Do I want? And the thing is, yeah, I do. I want to bring it up so we can really think about it. I am reading several books now, and we have had two major, very good things in terms of the 4 pivots that says, let's take a look at ourselves. Another one that I'm reading right now is Disruptive Thinking by T.D. Jakes, which is saying he himself, as a pastor who has been here for years, is looking at the same thing. And I'm saying, wow. And yet he has pushed through, and I'm reading his book because I want to know what he did to push through and what he did to really make a magnificent change in terms of his communities. And so it's very interesting because I think for me, much of my life has been in uncomfortable positions and having to sit through the conversation of, well, we're not ready yet, or shifts in terms of hijacking the question. So we're going someplace else. And I mean, there's just a myriad of ways. But when you asked, it was like, okay, let me just put it in the room and let's just go ahead and get it out there and let's see where it goes. So thank you for the question. And also thank you for you speaking towards it. Yeah, I'm complete.
Thank you, Deborah.
Once you have your hand up.
Yes, I do. This follows a bit on what Deborah was talking about. I realized that after I said that first thing that, that about talking about the elephant in the room or dealing with the elephant in the room, that, since I've come to Center for Spiritual Living, I've really learned many ways of dealing with the internal, the stuff that's really been hard for me, and have felt like for myself, I've grown leaps and bounds in terms of my own consciousness and my own acceptance of myself, which is what it comes down to. And I have, and yet I don't know how to do it on a community level. I feel really inept because I just don't know, and sometimes I think, to be perfectly honest, Reverend Sunshine, sometimes I think ministers have a secret that they're not telling the rest of us, that somehow that that, because, you know, we've worked together now since December, and I know where your heart's at, and I know where you want to go. Somewhat, you know, and what I see with on a ministerial level is wanting to do it in a way that's very, it's not disruptive, that's really loving, and that's very positive, and yet I'm never sure if there's a what's the difference between spiritual bypass and some of the secret that the ministers seem to have that they don't share with the rest of us about how you do that to actually create change without ever confronting the issue. So I'm not asking you to answer that necessarily, but it just sort of that's sort of, I sometimes laugh and I go, I think ministers have this secret that either that or they don't know, and they don't know either, and are just doing what they can do the best. You know, we all do our best. So, but yeah, that's where I get really, is like when it's uncomfortable on a group level. I mean, I see things, and I've seen it for years, some things at our center, and I don't know what to do with it. So anyway, that's what I had to say. Thank you for listening.
Thank you, Constance. Thank you.
Hi, this is Peter. I guess for me, I answered that question after I retired. I decided, what am I going to do to give back to my community? And a friend had suggested Meals on Wheels. And so I went over and I applied. And I've been doing that. I've done it all through COVID up here in Portland. And it's been a very good experience. It's been a good thing for me to do, to reach out to people. And I think I can't say I've made some friends, but I talk and chat with some people a little bit. And it's been really helpful for me to be a part of a community that I really wasn't a part of. I was blessed. I got into an industry, the dental field, and that's a somewhat privileged field, I think, both from the practitioner and the patient standpoint. And so I was somewhat sheltered from a lot of what people had to go through, because I didn't. I had two parents who were loving and provided for me. And so this has been a way for me to reach out and to recognize, kind of the way you said, Dylan, to go out into the world and see where people are at and where they are at. I go to their homes and I take food to them, and they're very appreciative of that. So it's something that I'm doing. I'm looking to expand on it. There's other ways that I can help in that area. And so it personally is something that I found, okay, here's something I can do. That's a positive thing. That's literally helping people get by here in my community. So that's my contribution. So I'm just putting that out there. That there's things that we can all do, and just look to see what you can do. So thanks.
Thank you, Peter. And how it's how wonderful that you're tapping into a community that you otherwise wouldn't have connected with.
Right.
Yeah. So it's a whole new community. That's great. Thank you for sharing.
We have time for maybe one more. Anybody want to close this out with a comment? Question? Statement? Affirmation?
Hi, I'll add a little bit, just something personal for me. So Dylan, thank you for your share tonight. It really helped me to kind of take a look at some things that I've been kind of dealing with, even being here in Savannah. Everybody's talking about community and having their spiritual communities. And here I really don't have that. There's a Unity Church that's here that I attend periodically, but outside of that, there is not a CSL community or anything here. And it's funny because I have a number of friends that have always asked me, so when are you going to start a church? Not happening. No, not at all. I said, you all just don't understand what goes into this process. But what I realize is that there is something that Spirit is calling me to do more of. And the biggest part for me right now is to create some balance in order to, from work to creating something to work more towards my spiritual calling as well. And part of that I can say it has not happened yet, but then listening to this conversation tonight, what I've started realizing is that bottom line is that it's not happening because I have not made it happen. Because I was about to throw something else into the mix and I'm just like, yeah, no, it hasn't happened because I've decided in my own way right now. I don't know if I really want to step into something greater, although I know that I do, but it's like, well, how will it work out? How am I to, who's going to support me in this process? All of the behind the scenes questions that take place, rather than just create the space, set the intention, do the work, whatever that is, and move forward. Taking baby steps. That's the biggest thing. And I was like, yeah, it's like work is, it's like work has me doing this, work has me doing this. And all I need to do is like, you know what, I'm done at 5 o'clock. Let me be done. And then I can focus on something else. So I'm focusing on your question. And thank you for this. I appreciate it.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Well, thank you so much, Dylan, for offering in some words of wisdom and leaving us with some things to ponder and reflect on. We appreciate you being here and wish you safe journeys off to Africa at the end of next month when you go, and wherever you end up in between before you get there. And so to close us out, folks, we have a few announcements for you. We want to acknowledge that today is the last day of May, and as such, it's the last day of Asian Pacific American Heritage Month, and we celebrate all of our friends and family and community who are from those various cultures. And we step into June tomorrow, which is Pride. Yay, it's Pride Month, and we're happy about that. And we certainly will be talking more about that. This coming Sunday, June 4th, I'll be back at OCSL, and I will be launching our June theme of embracing self-care. And the talk title for this week is Evolution of Self-Care. And meditation is at 10 and service is at 10:30. And we do live stream, as y'all know, on YouTube Live, and sometimes Facebook Live. So join us one way or the other. Would love to see you in person though. And following up on Sunday's topic, next Wednesday for Oasis on June 7th will be practitioner Chantel Rolfing, who will be joining us to talk about and delve deeper into the evolution of self-care. As it was tonight, meditation is at 6:30 and the service is at 7 o'clock via Zoom. This is a totally virtual service. Coming up soon is next week, 5 Gifts for an Abundant Life. It's a class, a 7-week class with Reverend Jerry Carter. I'm sorry, I said next week. It begins tomorrow. My apologies. It was supposed to start last week and we gave it an extra week. So it's tomorrow for 7 weeks. So sign up. You can go on our website and sign up, and you'll enjoy the class for sure. More information on the ongoing and upcoming classes and workshops, which we have several. You can catch that on our webpage, our website, which is oaklandcsl.org under events, or you can catch it in the Village News, which comes out tomorrow on Thursday. We have a save the date. Our practitioner class of 2023 is finishing up. This coming Monday is their final class and presentation. And on June 25th is their graduation at 1:30, which is after service. And we urge you all to come and support them. We have 4 folks who are graduating, Peggy Cotton and Alice Knudsen. You know them on the AV team. We have Maureen French and Megan Lemon. So please support them and come on out or stay after service for the graduation. And that day we will be featuring, we're in a pilot of our brunch service, which we had this past Sunday, and I understand it went really well. So it will be happening that day. So there will be food on site right after service, and so you'll be fed, and you should be able to hang in there and stay for graduation at 1:30. And as always, for more information on what's going on at our beloved Oakland Center for Spiritual Living, visit our website. The weekly Village News, as I mentioned, comes out tomorrow, and you can catch more information there. And you can follow us on Instagram, YouTube, and Facebook, and get special updates and content that you'll only get if you like and subscribe to Oakland Center. So please be sure and like and subscribe to us. We have a contact team that can serve all your needs, and they're shown here. You all know us all, but let me just say who we are in case we have someone watching the recording and they don't know us. But Constance is on here, as she's our administrative coordinator as well as the education coordinator. I am the senior minister. We have Maureen French, who is graduating. She's a practitioner student who is graduating, and she's our board president. Susan Brecker, practitioner emeritus, is our facilities use coordinator. Dorothy Mendez heads up our ministry of prayer, and Dal Becker is our bookkeeper. So you're in good hands, and we have so many other people who support this center. So we're pleased about that. And now we move on to our joyous giving as we prepare to close this out. And we love to give people the opportunity to play in the law of circulation by giving and receiving and activating that divine circulation. So there's lots of ways to give, and whatever your way is, which we'll tell you in just a moment, we want to say a blessing affirmation together. So you can hold your hands over your heart, for we know that either you're auto giving or you're going to give on our website, or when you're at service, giving in person. And so even on mute, let us say this affirmation together. This gift I give is God in action. It does good work in the world and blesses creation. And so it is. And the ways that you can give, when you go on our website, oaklandcsl.org, and you click on the donate button, you can give by credit card. You can certainly mail in your payment. You can give by Zelle, or you can text to give. And on Sundays, you can put your offering in the basket. So we give thanks for that. And we give thanks, I certainly give thanks to each and every one of you for taking out this time to be with us on this last Wednesday of May. I want to thank our speaker, Dylan McClintock, practitioner, who is an outreach practitioner. He travels all over the place. So glad that you could be with us, Dylan. I look forward to seeing you on Sunday. He will be with us on Sunday. And thank you to our Oasis team, Peter Gum, Alice Herndon, Constance Chapman. Thank you so much. And same bat time channel, all that stuff next week for Oasis. And you know we need to close with prayer. So Dylan, I'm going to turn it over to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much. So if you'll join with me in a deep breath, anchor this time that we've had together. Continuing in the spirit of acknowledging the presence of spirit as we did earlier. I know that God is everywhere present. Everything and everyone is God. There is no separation. I'm grateful for the time that we had together tonight. This has been a very fruitful time. I trust that each of us goes forward with things to ponder and perhaps action to take. There's no time like the present. But be still, be in our hearts, be with spirit, and allow spirit to guide and direct as it always does. So I'm very grateful for this time together. Thank you for joining us. And so it is.
And so it is. And if you want